Hello everyone and welcome to Events Management Lecture DJL1108. My name is Carol Makoha. The objective of this unit is to equip planners with the relevant knowledge in corporate event planning and management, basically to make sure that all our learners have all the knowledge and skills required from planning up to execution of all events that an organization may require. The unit content will include an introduction to the concept of event, the event management structure, role of events in organization as well as in the society, and the role of public relation in event planning and management. Then we'll also look at the emerging issues in event planning and management. These are just the main topics, but then we'll also have several subtopics under each of it. So we start by defining what an event is, and we will look at 3 or 4 definitions of an event. And the first one is, an event is a public assembly for the purpose of celebration, education, marketing, or reunion, whereby we have several people assembling and they have a particular purpose, which could be celebration, education, marketing, reunion, among other objectives. We can also say that an event is a temporary occurrence or a purposive gathering of people, whereby we have an inclusion of time, people, and there must be a purpose for why people are meeting. Then another definition of an event is we can say it's an organized occasion, such as a meeting, a convention, an exhibition, a gala dinner, among others. Mainly you realize that events will have different but very related functions. We can also say that an event is just a happening with an objective, whereby you're meeting and you have a specific objective for the same, or a thing that happens or takes place, especially one of importance. So I'll elaborate on all these definitions. You realize that cutting across is the objective. So there must be an objective for the gathering of people. People cannot just leave their activities, their busy schedule, to come in for an occurrence that does not have an objective. So this objective could be social, it could be corporate, it could be political, or it could be religious, depending on why it was taking place. Then there must be people. Of course, you need to have the attendance for the event to be successful. People who are going to be stakeholders in that particular event. And then you also need to have timing so that you know when that particular occurrence or event is going to take place. So it could be taking a day. Some events take maybe from morning to evening, some few hours, some take days, some weeks, some months, depending on how big that particular event is and also the objective of that particular event. So basically, those are the definitions of an event. And then we also look at event management. What do we mean when we're saying that we are managing an event? So when you say that we are managing an event, we're simply looking at the activities that we take part in when we're organizing, coordinating, and also planning the activities that are required to achieve the specific objectives of the event. Whereby you realize that just like in any form of management, there must be planning, there must be controlling, there must be people who have been delegated different duties, there must be coordination of activities so that that particular event that you have organized can actually be successful. So that is what we will call event management. And you realize that an event will involve several things. Like we need to know when we are going to have the event, the venue for the event, the activity that will take place in that particular event, the promotion of the same and all that. Now, for an event to be successful, there must be clear management of all those activities or all those sections, and that is what we call event management. So we can also say that it's simply the capability and control of the process, purpose, people, and the place. Just like we have said before, we need to know who is going to be in charge of the venue, who is going to be in charge of equipment, who is going to be in charge of the timings, inviting people and all that. All activities basically that will contribute towards a successful event. So we'll have an individual who is going to be overall to make sure that the event is very successful. Then, having looked at that, we move on and we look at the types of events. Now, events can be categorized based on size, form, and content. Based on sizes, mainly we have the major events, we have Hallmark events, we have mega events, and we have the local events. Have not been arranged in order in this case, but then you realize that based on the size, the largest event, we have the mega, then followed by Hallmark, then major, and then the local event. But we will discuss these types based on how they have been organized in this slide over there. So we start with the first one, which is the major event. Now, major event basically refers to any event that generates significant, immediate, and long-term economic, social, and cultural benefit. Then, at the same time, it also attracts a significant number of people, both internationally and locally, and you realize that people will be able to attend from different places. And of course, as people attend, there must be an attraction of the media, so there will be media coverage. Now, when you're looking at major events, a good example that we can give for a major event is when we have Commonwealth sports activities. That is a major event. Why? Because you realize that it's going to have immediate benefit and the long-term benefit to the hosting countries or to the country that is hosting those Commonwealth sports activities. At the same time, the media will be attracted in it. They will be able to cover the same, and there will be an attraction of significant number of people, both nationally and internationally. So basically, that is what we can give as an example of a major event. Even the recent inauguration of the US president can be a good example of a major event, because you realize that it has all the qualities we have mentioned here. Number two is the Hallmark event. Now, Hallmark, you realize that it's also almost like the major one, but then this one has different characteristics in that this is characterized by the tradition. It is an event that happens traditionally. If it's scheduled to be happening maybe after a year or after 4 years, you realize that it has that form of tradition. Then it has that attractiveness whereby the audience or the public will want to be part of it. And then you also realize that it's one that the hosting nation or the venue is likely to benefit so much from it. An example that we can give here is the FA Cup finals and all that. At the end of the day, you realize that it has that tradition of when it happens, and it attracts quite a number of audience. And of course, once we have a huge audience, the media will also be attracted to the same. Now, the largest of all are the mega events. Now, these are events that are large to the extent that they affect the economy of a country that is hosting it, and also affect the global economy and the media. So at the end of the day, you realize that for mega events, normally there is a bidding process. And during that bidding process, every country, every nation wants to host their mega event because of the benefits that will come with it. There will be tourist attraction, there will be international media coverage, there will be other economic benefits, and the prominence that also comes with hosting the same. And a good example that we can give here is the World Cup. You see seasons when we have World Cup, everyone says they want to travel to the nation that is hosting. But before then, normally we have nations trying to make sure that they meet the qualifications of hosting the World Cup. So World Cup can actually serve as a good example of a mega event. We can also talk about the world fairs and all that. All those can form examples of mega events. It's actually one of the largest events when it comes to event planning and management, and that therefore means the planners also have to be really good in order to be able to manage the same. Then the last type in terms of size are the local events. So just like the name is suggesting, these are events that mainly take place in the community, and they include the cultural events and sometimes those events that take place regionally. So when we are saying local, we don't necessarily mean that the local homes where we come from or the local countries, but you realize that they are smaller in size in that they're not going to really get to the world level. And a good example, you realize that sometimes when we have sports locally within our own countries, we can also be having some local activities or local events within our own country. So at the end of the day, we call such local events. Example, since we had the pandemic, that is coronavirus, we have actually had several local events of our leaders moving from one county to the other, trying to assess the situation on the ground. So at the end of the day, such we can actually call them local events. So based on the size, you realize that the major ones are basically 4. The largest being the mega event, followed by Hallmark, then major, and then lastly we have the local events, or some people also call it the regional event. Then we move to the second category, whereby events are characterized or categorized based on a form or content. Now, based on form and content, here we're just looking at what exactly is happening during that particular event. Based on what is happening during that particular event, we give that event a name. Example, if we talk about a wedding, we just know that it's being called a wedding because it's all about people wedding. When you talk about a award ceremony, it's being called award ceremony event because it's all about awarding people and all that. So under that, we have several, which I'll just list, where we have cultural events, we have business events, sports events, corporate events, we have seminars and workshops, luncheons, award ceremony, product launches, entertainment and sports, special events, musical events, religious events, personal and private events, name them. The list can actually not be exhausted because just based on what you're doing, you give that particular event a particular name. So you realize that most of these that we have mentioned based on the form and content are the ones that most of the organizations will organize, or where we'll have the corporate events. And corporate events play different functions for the organization. Of course, if well organized, and again, if the objective is really good, then it's likely to contribute to the positive reputation of the organization, which again translates to the sustainability of an organization. So having looked at the types of events, then we move on and we look at the event management structure. Now, this is now the pillar of event management, whereby from this structure, the coordination from all these branches and levels, that is when we can now be able to have either a successful or unsuccessful event. That therefore means there should be good coordination, good communication among all these sections that we are going to look at. So basically we can say that the management structure of the event is characterized into 2, where we have the top level, and then we have the subordinate level. Now, the top level mainly has the event director. Some people say the event director, some will say the event manager. Now, what's the role of the event director? They are actually playing the overall function of planning, selecting, coordinating, and organizing all activities that are required during the management, working together with the management team, and ensuring that an event is successful. So their work is overall. We're going to look at so many other sections, but then you should know that at the overall, there is someone who is overseeing all these activities, who is making sure that specific people have been given specific duties during event management, who is going to ensure that each and everything that is supposed to be done to ensure a successful event has actually been done in the right way. So we move on and look at the several coordinators under the same, where we have the program coordinator. Of course, without a program, we will not have successful event. The venue coordinator, equipment coordinator, promotion coordinator, officials coordinator, and hospitality coordinator. So we look at each. We start with the program coordinator. And who is a program coordinator? This is just the person who schedules everything in the program, and they need to know everyone and every activity that has to be included in a particular program for the event. We have looked at different events. Some are major, some are large, some are just minor, but all of them will require some form of program for them to run smoothly. So a program basically is a plan of action that is aimed at accomplishing a clear business objective. You have woken up in the morning and you're saying, today we are having an event. In this event, we are doing maybe an inauguration of a leader. Are you just going to wake up and get there and you choose people randomly and you say you will have to give us an introduction, you'll pray for us, you will be the person giving the speech? No. You need to have a clear program so that at the end of the day, we know who is supposed to do which activity and at what particular time, so we are able to manage time, and at the same time, we are able to achieve the objective of the event. And we also have some order, and the event will be exciting. The unfortunate thing is the attendants can easily tell if you didn't have a clear program of what you're doing, because things will not work well. Just like we say, failure to plan is planning to fail. Same, if you do not have a good program for an event, chances are that particular program is going to be shoddy, or it's not going to actually be successful. So programs are flexible, but a basic program will have, of course, the title of the event. Which event are you having? Let's say, for example, the leader's inauguration. And then you also need to have the agenda. What is going to be discussed during that particular event? So you can have a different agenda that we will discuss. They have to be listed. And for each, again, you have to indicate who is going to be in charge of that particular agenda and make sure that it is successful. Then you can have presentations and other activities. There are times when we also have the plenary session where we have question and answer section, because you also want to engage other people and see if what you're doing is actually satisfactory. And then, of course, you can have a conclusion of the event. So for the program content, just like I've said, it is very flexible depending on which event, because we cannot have a similar program of a wedding and a mega event. No, they can't be the same. We cannot have a same program of an event that is only going to take 2 hours being the same with a particular event that's going to take, let's say, a whole week. So there will be a difference. That means we need to have a program coordinator who is really creative and very sharp. And again, they need to be very keen to detail so that they do not forget some people or some activities. Then we move on and look at factors to consider when you're choosing the day for the event. You see, during when you're coming up with that program, of course, you'll have the day for the event. But then what are you going to consider as you choose the particular day for the event? The first thing is you must consider the target audience or the attendants. Who are these people who are supposed to attend the event? Make sure you keep them in mind, because You cannot invite people who will be busy on that particular day, and you're telling them we are supposed to have an event on Monday morning. Monday morning, and yet you know that your attendees are the people who are supposed to be going to work somewhere else. They have other commitments. That event will not be successful because these people will go to those other activities that are of priority. So you have to make sure that you keep in mind your target audience. Look at several factors before you schedule the day. Then we also look at factors like school holiday, public holiday, and religious festivals. There are some events that can work very well during school holidays, especially the ones that you're targeting, let's say, students or pupils. But then you realize that there are times when, for example, you're targeting a school to bring in their students for a particular event. Now, if you organize such an event during holidays, then they will not be able to attend. Then public holidays. Look at which public holidays do people just treat as a free day so they can attend an event. There are some public holidays that everyone wants to attend the public celebration. So make sure that you analyze it critically so that you do not actually affect people. Example, if you're going to schedule your activity on a Christmas day, you realize that everyone wants to meet with their families, everyone wants to have their own times, and they have already organized their celebrations. So chances of them turning up for yours might be less. So depending on which one you're going to organize, you need to be very careful. Then you also have the religious festivals you need to keep in mind. Then also consider the similar events that are happening on the same day or have the same topic. Because there are times when you're organizing an event and you have put on a day when there is also another almost similar event taking place. Some people are likely to leave. Let's say, for example, let's use a trivial example, you're organizing a wedding, and yet you're planning that wedding on the same day with someone you have most of the friends in the inner cycle. Then chances are some people are likely to go to the other. So there will be divided audience. So make sure if you really want maximum audience, consider other events on that particular day. Another thing is the internal work calendar. In this case, we are looking at it in terms of businesses. As you're organizing the events, look at the internal work calendar. How busy are the staff on that particular day that you're organizing the event? If you think they're going to be very busy or you have other works to be done, then make sure that at least you reschedule and put it on a different date. Then we move to coordinator number 2. That is the venue coordinator. Now, this is the individual who is just in charge of the venue arrangement and the logistics. You cannot have an event without a venue. Whether it's virtual or it's going to be a face-to-face event, there must be an organization of at least a venue for proper running of the event. So a venue basically is the place where the event or the meeting takes place. And just like I've mentioned before, because of the new trends and all that, we have even moved virtually, where there are times when we are not going to have the physical places. But then there must be that place of convergence which has to be organized. So it is something that is of prime importance, considering all factors that we are going to look at. So then we look at which are the factors that you're going to consider as you choose the venue for the event. Most of the factors listed here are basically for the physical or face-to-face venue, but then we'll also have some factors that we can consider when you're looking at the virtual platform as our venue for the event, especially with Corona and all that. So the first factor here is the budget. So cost is often the main factor people consider when they're considering a venue. You need to look at the price tag for that particular venue that you want to choose. You cannot just go for a venue that you can't afford or the one that's going to cost you unnecessary costs. So you have to look at that is really affordable. Then factor number 2 is space specification. You know the number of people you expect for an event. You know the features you expect for that event that you're planning. So then consider the spacing. So you are going to have a place where people will fit. You do not want to have an overflow where some people are hanging high there on the trees, which is very dangerous. Under the circumstance where we have coronavirus, we have social distancing. That means when you're looking for a venue for the event, then look for that venue that can allow the 1.5 meter away from each other, to make sure that in as much as you are holding that event, you are also considering the health factors. Then another factor you consider when you are choosing a venue is the day and time availability. You can just be eyeing a particular venue and you're like, we will have a meeting on a Monday and this meeting is going to be in this particular venue. But then you have not asked whoever is in charge if that particular venue or room is going to be available. So make sure that you ask if the day that you're going to have the meeting and the time that you're going to have the meeting, that venue will be available. Otherwise, you'll get there and be surprised. You'll get there and be frustrated. And such frustrations are just unmade. It's not that someone has imposed on you. It's just out of your unpreparedness of lack of plan. Then you also look at the appropriateness of the type of event and the client goal. You realize that this is a very subjective feature, because you need to look at what exactly are you going to have in that event against the venue that you're choosing. For example, you cannot take a religious event to a club. It will not make sense. That is why I've heard of a discussion where someone is saying they have their church on top of a club, and people are wondering, why do you have the same? And this man is arguing and saying that Christ came to save the sick and not the well. But then at the end of the day, you realize that if it's just any event, make sure that it is appropriate based on where you are putting the same. We have some venues that are meant for let's say burial ceremonies or arrangements. We have some that are suitable for sports. We have some that are suitable for religious activities and all that. So make sure that that particular venue you're choosing is actually appropriate for the event that you're having. You cannot bring football to an indoor place where people cannot even fit in. So think before you have such. Then another thing is security. Before you choose a venue, make sure that the people who are coming to attend the event are going to be secure, because everyone is actually sensitive and they care about their security. So if you're going to choose a place that is not secure, that's going to compromise on the security of the people, maybe things will be stolen or something of the sort, or they'll not feel comfortable. And then at the end of the day, some people will not attend because the place is not secure. Then ask yourself, which are the other groups that are using the same venue at the same time? Some venues are large enough to accommodate several events at the same time. But then check which is the other group that is taking or using that venue. You cannot be having a round table event where you're discussing some critical things that requires brain at work, and yet you are bordering with another event that is really noisy. You'll not be able to attend. You'll feel distracted. There are times when some members will want to move to the other event. I don't know if you have ever been in such a situation where you have gone for event A and then you get there and you realize that the other event is more exciting than the one you have come for. So you move to the other. So as the event organizer, make sure that you also know which other events are taking place in the same venue and see if indeed they can be able to coexist. If they cannot, move somewhere else. Then another one factor to consider is the customer service. You realize that for any event, there's need for customer service. People need to be given direction. People need some place to sit and some other services that will make them comfortable. So make sure that the place that you are choosing is also good in terms of the support that your attendees are going to be given. Another factor is travel conveniency. Are you choosing a venue where people can be able to travel to? And just like you said about the issue of who your target audience is, once you know who your target audience is, you know, are these people going to use their private means, personal means, or are they going to use the public means? Now, if they're going to use either of the means of transport, is that place that you are choosing for them, that venue you're choosing for them, convenient for them? Because if you're putting a place where only people with personal vehicles can reach, then the ones without the personal, if they are also part of the attendees, then it's going to be an inconvenience on them. So make sure that all attendees are actually catered for in terms of travel conveniency. Then we also have parking and proximity to transportation options. Again, we still get back to the same. If people are going to use personal means, or even if it's an organized public transport, do you have enough parking for the same? Let's assume we are organizing a graduation. We need to also make sure that we have a place where there are parkings for the people who are going to attend the same. Otherwise, some people, you realize that they will just say, I'm not going to attend that event because there is no parking. I'm not going to risk my vehicle. I'm not going to risk my people. So such things may sound trivial. They may sound like people who are considering them are petty. But then you realize that you have to keep them in mind if you need to have maximum number of attendants. And again, if you want to make sure that your event is successful. Then you also make sure that you consider accessibility for persons with disability. We live in a society that has people who have different challenges, and we all know that disability is not inability. So in a case where the event you're organizing is supposed to accommodate both, then make sure that they have a place, or there are ways in which they can be able to access that particular place that you are organizing for. Then which are the nearby amenities and entertainment options? This is very good for mega events where people are traveling from different countries and they come to another country, and of course, apart from attending that event, they also want to explore around. So you ask yourself, after people are done with the major agenda, during the evenings and maybe that free time before they go back to their homes, which are some of the entertainment options available for them and some of the amenities that they can be able to use. When people are traveling from different countries, some of them would want maybe accommodation and all that. So ask yourself such questions before you book a venue. Another thing is the reputation of the venue. And in public relations, reputation is very important. So you realize that you need to make sure that the venue you are choosing has good reputation. It's a venue that people would want to associate with, not that venue that someone walks to a place but they do not want to be seen in that particular place. So once you consider all those factors, then you're going to have a high number of people attending the event. And of course, the higher the attendance, the higher the level of success for that particular event. It's not the only measure of the success of the event, but of course, if you have an event that is highly attended, there are chances that such an event is also likely to be successful. That therefore means you need to really follow a clear procedure when you are choosing a venue for the event. Now, we look at the steps to be followed when you're choosing or selecting a venue. And the steps, step number 1 is analyze the event's need for the venue. Then number 2 is investigate the possible venues available. Number 3, make site visit. Number 4, agree on the price and the terms. Number 5, make booking and confirm. Then number 6, make further visit. We look at each separately. Number 1, we are looking at analyzing the event's need for the venue. Which kind of event are you planning? Are you planning for a mega event, a major event? Are you planning for a wedding, a cultural event? Or which kind of event exactly are you planning? Now you ask yourself, do you need an indoor or the outdoor venue for that event that you are organizing? It's a football game, let's say, for example. Would you need an outdoor or indoor? Mainly you will need the outdoor, in as much as we could be having maybe the indoor ones, but the outdoor will do better. Then what audience capacity does the event require? Do you require a venue that will accommodate over 500,000 or just 500 people? Ask yourself such questions and make sure you answer appropriately. How long do you need the venue? Is it a day, hours, weeks, months, or how long exactly do you need that particular venue? And is it going to be available? Then, is it necessary to select a venue with good public transport access? Again, keeping your audience or the target attendees in mind, you'll be able to know if there is need for you to get to a place that is accessible by public transport. Otherwise, if you only need people with personal means, then you don't have to consider such. Then you move to step number 2, where you investigate the possible venue. Of course, you have answered the question that we had at step number 1. Now you move here and you ask yourselves, which are the possible venues that you could be having? So you can choose like 3 or 4 of them. So you have an option. Once you have all those, then it will be very easy for you to analyze and see which one is going to be the best. Now, how do you investigate the possible venues? You can be able to contact the government agencies who can tell you which venue can be good. You can consult some event organizers. You can also contact schools, colleges, and universities to see if they can be able to give you their premises for the event. So once you have several, then you can be able to at least choose one. Then you move to step number 3, where you make the site visit. You have chosen like 4 venues, 4 options. So make visits to those places to be able to see which one is better. And there are times when you move from one place to another and you're like, oh, I think place B is better because it has A, B, C, D, which place A does not have. Once you're done visiting all those places, of course, in your mind, based on the specification you wanted, you will have chosen which one you want to have. So that is very important. And then agree on the price and pay, or agree on the price and the terms. Now, depending on the budget that you had for the event, you don't just organize an event without a budget for the booking of the venue. So based on the budget that you have and the analysis you have done for the several venues that you have, you will agree on which one you are going to take. And then once you have the price and the terms, you will now move on and make booking and confirm. Of course, most of the venue owners will want you to pay some down payments to indicate that you have actually secured the venue. Otherwise, another person will come and pay in full and they will give it out. So once you're very sure that that is the venue that you want, that is appropriate for you, then you can be able to move on and book the same. And then once you have done the same, you make the further site visits. Why are we doing the further site visits? It's not that we are just being skeptical, but it's good to just make sure that nothing changed. We have so many eventualities that could happen. We could have some strong winds that maybe came and blew away some roof, and then you're there seated and waiting for the day of the event. So make sure that nothing has changed, so that you get there and confirm that everything that you had considered when you were choosing that particular venue is still intact. Once you have such, and then you realize that you can be able to go for the particular venue. Then aside from that, we also make sure that we do further site visit. Now the further site visit is just to make sure that everything is very, very much the way it was. Fine. So once we have the venue, then we also need to promote the event. There is no way you can have an event, you have chosen a very large venue, you have paid for it, it's very expensive, and you fail to tell people to promote that event. So at the end of the day, you have very few people occupying maybe half of the place, yet you have paid for the same. No, we do not want to be extravagant. We do not want to waste any money. We want to make sure that we are using money effectively and efficiently during event planning and management. That therefore means that you have to promote your event. Now, what is promotion of the event? It simply refers to a type of marketing communication that is used to inform and persuade the target audience of the relative merits of, let's say, the product, service, or the brand. But now, in this case, we are looking at the relative benefit or merit of the event that you are organizing. So the aim here is to simply create awareness, create interest among people, generate sales, and all that. That is why most of the events, when they're being organized, they will tell you you don't afford to miss. And the Swahilis will say, kosa uchekwe. You see, someone is just making you develop interest and you're like, I can't just afford to miss that particular event because of that which that has been promised. Because an event anyway is the attendance. If you do not have the attendees, then what is that? Because you need those audience so that you can be able to tell them exactly why you have organized that particular event. In this case, we are assuming you are an organization. When you are organizing the event, it's going to help or to add a plus to your organization. So therefore, we look at which are some of the strategies that you can use to promote your event, to basically make your event known so that people can attend. So you realize that at the end of the day, you have different strategies that you can use. And some of those strategies, we have use of social media, which we all know, that is the new media. We can also have the paid advertising online. We can have the paid advertising offline. We can have free publicity. We can have promotional elements that we have, including the road shows and all that, just to tell people that we have a particular event. And we can also have some banners that we are going to use to be able to let people come for a particular event. Now, we get back and look at the purpose of promoting event. Why should we struggle to use the offline media, the online media, to be able to use the banners and all that to just promote the event? It's because we want to attract the participants. The higher the participants, the more the benefits. Remember, we mentioned about the mega events, and we said mega events have economic benefit to the hosting country. So the higher the numbers, the more the economic benefit to the country. Then again, promotion of event can also bring in sponsors. People who want to stand with you so that at the end of the day, you achieve the same goal. We have had Mata Hatran, where they're trying to help the kids who have issues with the heart and all that. And through the promotion of the event, Safaricom also came in as sponsors to be able to stand with them on the same noble objective so that at the end of the day, the same is achieved. So once you promote the same, chances are you will get the sponsors who will also stand with you. It also helps in creating or increasing the public awareness of your organization. Once you're promoting an event and you're saying this event is being organized by, let's say, Mount Kenya University or Safaricom or Mata Hospital, at the end of the day, your name is also going with it. So you are also creating awareness for your particular organization. It's an indirect way of actually marketing it. Fine. We move on and we also look at hospitality in events. There is also need for the friendly treatment of your attendees so that they can continue attending any event that you invite them. So what is hospitality basically in event? It simply refers to the friendly and generous reception and entertainment of your guests, visitors, and strangers. So during an event, if you're not going to treat your attendees very well, they will not feel comfortable. And that is why you can start with maximum number. By the time you're finishing, you have empty seats. Why? Because people are not comfortable. People have not been treated well. People do not even have the place to sit. So you have to make sure that you have good relationship between you, the guest, and the host. You are making that environment very, very conducive for them to be able to attend the same. Fine. So some of the hospitality services that can help you win more attendees include the seating arrangement or generally providing seats for your customer, not your customers, but your attendees. Because at the end of the day, if you do not have a place for your attendees to sit, they're not going to be comfortable. So make sure that you have seats for them, you have food and refreshments which they will use. Make sure that there is good reception area, especially for the dignitaries and other important people. When they come in, there's someone who is receiving them so they feel at home. Make sure there is an information desk. In case someone wants some information, you have some information desk, and then good standard toilets, good standard changing facilities, facilities for people with disabilities, some giveaways and prizes and all that. Basically anything that is going to make your attendees feel special and feel good, so that at the end of the day, all of them can attend. We have also mentioned issues like assistance in parking and all that. Just make whoever is coming for the event feel comfortable. That way they will sit to the end. But if they feel uncomfortable, someone comes in, they do not have a parking, they come in, they do not have a chair, they come in, they need some information, there's no one to help them, then they're likely to leave that particular event before time. So you have to consider all that. Then we move on and look at the equipment coordinator. This is referred to the individual who is in charge of the equipment, and the equipment can either be bought or be hired, depending on which event you have. So you can decide and say, we are going to hire the equipment or we are going to have our own. So what are the advantages of hiring equipment? When you hire the equipment, you forgo the upfront investment. The original capital that you would use to buy the equipment, you will have saved it, because you'll only pay for the charges of hiring on that particular day that you have an event. Then there will be also decreased long run expense. What do we mean by the same? You realize that in the long run, you will need someone, some technical expert who will be in charge of your equipment. You need someone who will be maintaining them, and you also need some regular servicing of some machine, depending on which organization you are. So to save on such costs, you can decide to hire the equipment. Then you also, it also helps to avoid storage and transport costs. You don't need to have a place where you're going to store these equipments. You simply hire and be able to continue. Then from the same, you can easily also be able to get the latest and the greatest from this. Now we wrap up by just looking at the relationship between public relation and event planning management. Now when you look at it, you ask yourself, what then is the role of PR in event planning and management? PR actually helps in researching, so you can be able to know who are the attendees and all that that is required during the event. It also helps in planning of the event and identifying the media that you are going to use, the target audience that you will have. Some communication logistics, of course, the PR people will really be helpful. The necessary counseling to the event manager in case they have issues here and there that requires advice. They'll help in advertising of the event, or what we have just said, the promotion of the event. And then they'll also help in monitoring and evaluating of social and economic issues that are likely to affect the success of the event. Now, in conclusion, we can say the planning process is one of the most important aspects in the successful organization of any event. So the more robust the plan, the smoother the journey to success, or the smoother the journey to the success of the event. So well-organized events can really improve the reputation of the organization. So basically, what we have looked at is very important, very key when it comes to event planning and management. And you have to know that an event well organized can really help sell your organization and help you stand out there as an organization or as a business. So that brings us to the end of our lecture today. Thanks a lot for listening. You have been with me, Carol Makoha.